follow-up report. This is the monologue for the day. Back in 2009, President Obama held a huge press conference, and he launched an online suggestion box to cut government waste. We're going to listen again to this press conference from 2009, Obama's big idea to cut government waste, a suggestion box for federal workers.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way.
So after that huge press conference, to much fanfare, 86,000 ideas from government workers were submitted to save money, to cut waste and to save our tax dollars. 4.5 years later, what happened? President Obama, after 4.5 years, only picked 67 ideas to follow up. I'm not kidding. 67 of the 86,000. And of those 67, after 4.5 years, how many ideas of cutting government waste have actually been implemented? The answer? 28. And here's a specific example of one of those, of the 28 that were picked. And this is from a federal lawyer, Kevin Krusanansky, who suggested in the online suggestion box that the government stop buying expensive hardbound copies of the U.S. legal code. These gigantic books that are printed and distributed to everybody, all the federal lawyers. This federal lawyer, Kevin Krusanansky from the Treasury Department, says no lawyers actually look at this stuff. They look everything up online. Why waste the money? So Obama said, you know what? That's a no-brainer. Let's do that. Let's stop printing these books. Let's stop distributing them. Let's save money. And so this Kevin Krusanansky was hailed as a hero to cut government waste. But this is where the story gets interesting. This guy, Kevin, was interviewed by the Washington Post. And what happened next is an amazing story. So Obama implemented his idea of cutting out these hardbound books in favor of looking up everything online. The issue was, Obama didn't extend this beyond just one department. He kept it with this small department instead of going across the entire federal government where all these books get distributed. So only $16,000 were saved as opposed to $182,000, which could have been saved if they stopped distributing the books throughout the entire government. So when this lawyer who submitted the idea sat down to an interview, they asked him, they said, quote, wasn't your idea meant to be applied across the entire government? And then the federal lawyer said, he paused, and then he was sitting with a government public relations official during the interview. The government public relations official whispered in the background, said, you can't speak for other agencies. So this federal lawyer, Kevin, who submitted the idea, says, quote, I can't speak for other agencies. So his idea, which is one of only 28 that was followed up upon, of the 86,000 submitted, only $16,000 was saved, and it was only used in one small department as opposed to across the entire government. So you're beginning to see a problem here with Obama's online suggestion box. After 4.5 years, the federal government has spent $15 trillion. So about $3.5 trillion per year is what Obama's been spending. And the savings from Obama's online suggestion box and that big press conference, those 28 ideas saved the federal taxpayer 0.002% of all spending. About $200 million after 4.5 years. To put that in perspective, the budget sequester alone is $85 billion a year, which is 400 times larger than Obama's suggestion box.